Tomorrow, the 26th of June, Ghana will join the rest of the world to celebrate International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. There's been so much effect of drug addiction among the youth and society. Therefore, they're celebrating this on the theme Health for Justice, Justice for Health. Many who have abused drugs sometimes experience short and long-term as well as direct and indirect effects. So how are they helped to recover? So we'll be focusing on rehabilitation. One organization here in Ghana, Compassion in Action, has for many years helped people become aware and also emphasize the hazards of drug addiction and illegal trafficking. Aram Agbamava is the project's lead. She's here in the studio with me. Hello, Aram, you're welcome. I also have here in the studio Jackie Oheme, who's the director of Rehab, Compassion Rehab. They both joined me to find out what actually motivated them to start this. I'm sure that we can find the answers all over the place as far as why you want to support people in rehab. But is there a story, a compelling story that we should know about? Any if you like, personal attachments to this project?
Well, to the drug rehab, setting up the drug rehab. All right. So Compassion Rehabilitation Center, or Compassion in Action, under which falls the Compassion Rehabilitation Center, is the humanitarian arm of Action Chapel International, under the leadership of His Eminence, the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams. And he, growing up as a little child, had challenges with substance abuse, So I guess out of that compassion, out of what he went through as a child, it motivated him. So looking at the youth today, he thought he should do something to rescue the youth who are depending on drugs. So that's the motivation.
How bad is the situation? Maybe I should come to you with that. How bad is the situation when it comes to young people, if you like, who are hooked on to drugs? Because these are the kind of people that you work with, right?
Yes, okay. I would like to say that Ghana, we are gradually entering into a crisis situation. Yes, I'll say that one of the research that was conducted by the ECOWAS said that about 1.2 million young Ghanaians are hooked on substance abuse. And
are there any specific reasons why?
I think that some of them is because of the socioeconomic challenges that we have in the country, and some also go into it just for fun or through peer pressure. They want to try it and then they get hooked onto it. The issue is that when they are being introduced to these drugs, they are not told of the adverse effects of drug addiction. They just tell them about the highs, the kind of like when you take the euphoria, about it, and then they get hooked onto it and they cannot stop.
They cannot stop.
Day in and day out, in our offices, we encounter very young people, mostly between the ages of 20 to 45, coming in for help. I mean, their parents or relatives are so desperate.
So do they just walk up to you, or do you go out looking for people like that to rehabilitate? I think you were
Yes, so they don't come in themselves. Actually, their parents persuade them to come. And the way addiction is, when you're in it, you must be very, very tired, before you can come in for help. Because at this stage, between the ages of like 20 to about 30, they really enjoy it, because they are hooked onto it, the euphoria. I mean, they stop everything. They stop the education. They stop working. Anything that brings development is cut short. So it's their parents or family members who persuade them and bring them to the rehabilitation center.
Do you have any idea about numbers, figures, anything you can share with us to give us an idea of what the sort of problems we're dealing with?
So like Era mentioned, in Ghana, it's estimated that about 1.2 million,
in Ghana alone.
In Ghana alone, and mainly the youth, you understand. So they take it for recreation, and because they, this generation, they're, they call them the Gen X, Generation X. They are all about, their looks and, how they belong, flexing, this and that. So they think one way to belong is to, take substances. It gives them confidence, so that's how they get hooked onto it.
How do you deal with the rehabilitation of these people when they come to you? What are some of the things that you do? And if you can share some of the stories that, you've come into contact with us.
Okay, first and foremost, when they come to our offices, we normally take them through medicals. They have to go for testing to make sure that they don't have any diseases, mostly HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, or hepatitis. After that, we also take them through personal interviews, how long they've been in the addiction, the kind of drugs they take, and all that. And then after that, we take them to the rehab, which is a boarding facility, basically for men. And over the years we've had a lot of success stories. We have many other guys coming from different countries, some from Nigeria, Liberia, the United States, who have been rehabilitated and reintegrated into society.
How do you reintegrate these people into society? Because I know that it's not easy when you're hooked on, especially when you're addicted. It's not easy to get them to go back. Sometimes social stigma, social stigma is there. Sometimes they can't really bring themselves up to do anything for themselves. So how do you do this reintegration?
All right, so we run a hybrid program. We have the professional bit. We have addiction professionals taking them through the 12-step facilitation therapy program, which is an evidence-based program. And it's hybrid because we also are a church, and we believe that addiction, apart from the fact that it's a disease, is also an oppression, from the devil. That's what we believe because we're a church. And so we combine the spiritual aspect of things into it. So there's prayer, and all the things you can think about, fasting. It is working. It is working because it's made our rehab, according to statistics worldwide, there's a 70% relapse rate. But our rehab, when it comes to our rehab, is the opposite. Okay. There's about 50 to 60%, 30 to 40% relapse rate.
Okay.
Okay. 30 to 40% relapse rate. So about 60 to 70% remain in recovery, and they maintain their sobriety.
Okay. In terms of
believe it has spirituality has everything to do with it.
Okay. In terms of addiction, we know that it's not just the drugs that we know, the weed and whatever, the crack, if you like. There's also this alcohol addiction, and there's tramadol addiction as well. Have you dealt with any of these recently as we wrap up? The tramadol thing became quite
craze.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I think this was about last year, and even into this year. Has it been a problem?
Well, tramadol has been a problem, but there are other things. The youth experiment with a whole lot of things. They have something they call dirty Sprite. Dirty Sprite.
Dirty Sprite?
Yes.
What's this?
So dirty Sprite is Sprite. They mix it with
okay, don't show us how they do
right,
it.
That's fine.
But it's
so dirty Sprite
that's mixed up
they
with
have
stuff.
the e-cigarettes, they have the cookies, they have the toffees, and all kinds of things. They put in things very subtle, so it's a real problem out there.
It's a real problem. Let's talk about the World International Day Against Drug Abuse and what you want people to take away from this interview if they don't observe the day at all. What is it that for the young people who are watching, for young, old people, people who are hooked on to things, what message do you have for them? Let me start with you, Ayura.
Okay, we want to tell them that though they find themselves in kind of like a downhill, there's still hope for them. They can actually get out of addiction if they really want to, and if they want to be helped. There is help for them through the rehabilitation centers. And then we also want to say that just don't start. cat eye. I mean, we call something cat eye. Don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Yes, just don't touch it. Don't experiment with it, because we would say that one is just not enough, you know.
Once you touch it, you're compelled to touch another and touch another, and then there you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we say one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. One is too many, 1,000 is never enough. So katahi, don't even touch it at all. Don't think about starting at all. You understand? And if you're already in addiction, you did ask the question. If you're already in addiction, there's something we say: you are your own therapist. You understand? You are your own therapist. Maybe during the period of experimenting and recreation, it gives you all the euphoria. But after a while, you realize that you actually lose out on a lot of things, because you drop out of school, you jeopardize your future. If you're a worker, your family, there's breakdown, and I mean, you hurt families, you hurt your community, you hurt the nation.
And you hurt
so it's
yourself.
important that you hurt yourself first and foremost.
Is there a way for people to contact? Are people free to contact Compassion Rehab Center, come through to you if they need any help? How can they do so?
Absolutely. So
yes, okay. So Compassion Rehab Center, we are situated in Dowenya, but our main office is on the premises of Action Chapel International.
Okay.
Our doors are, yes, our
Okay.
doors are opened every day of the week, and they can come in.
You just have to walk in and say, I need help. Yes, you just have
to walk in.
Okay, well,
yes.
I think this is a great opportunity. If you have any, addiction issues, great opportunity. Action Chapel International is just on the Spintex Road. You're not going to get lost, I should say. You'll find it. But if someone wants to just, do the click thing and just keep clicking, can they click and find you online? How?
Yes, we are also online, compassioninaction.org.gh. You can find us online.
Okay. Compassioninaction.org.gh. Social media, Facebook,
yes, we're on
Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram. I think I've forgotten.
Compassion,
the handles.
okay. I'm sure you do Compassion in Action. You should find it. Compassion in Action. You should find it. If you're dealing Compassion and Rehabilitation. Compassion Rehabilitation Center. If you have any addiction, alcohol, tramadol, weed, whatever it is, their doors are open.
Yes,
their doors are open. They'll support you with that. Thank you very much, ladies, for coming through. Did you have a final word? I think I didn't take yours. For the young people, what should they take away?
For the young people, we want to say that if you want to belong, Jesus is the answer for the world today. Okay, if you need power, if you need to be out there feeling confident and all that, the power of the Holy Spirit will enable you to do everything in life, to achieve, to become an achiever. Okay. You understand? You don't have to rely on drugs. Jesus is the answer for the world today.
You do not have to rely on drugs. Jesus is the answer for the world today. If you don't believe that, just walk to them at Spintex. They'll talk to you. Tell them what your problem is about addiction, and they'll help you. Aram Agbemava is Project Lead, Compassion Rehab Center. Jacqueline Ohimi is also President, correct? Director, Compassion Rehab Center.